Hey, I'm Dana DiLorenzo, and you're you. And these guys, well, they're them. And who are they? Well, you're listening to them. You're listening to the Suns and Shadows podcast. Subscribe and listen, or else.
90 that. It's still 80s Animation Month with Suns and Shadows, the only podcast that remembers, relives, and revisits these classic series that were canceled long before their time. My name is Captain El Jefe.
And I be Captain Cave.
And I'm Pirate.
We'll call him Niddler.
Yeah, I'm a winged monkey. My name's Will. Hi, nice to meet you. I need melons.
Yeah, and in this episode, you're currently voiced by Roddy McDowell.
Am I? That's cool.
Yeah, good acting.
Yeah, I'll take that.
The alien world of Mer is being devoured by Dark Warrior. Only Ren, a young prince, can stop it by finding the lost 13 treasures of wood. At his side is an unlikely but loyal crew of misfits. At his back, the evil pirate lord Blood, who will stop at nothing to get the treasures for himself. It's high adventure with the Pirates of Dark Water.
All right, Kevin and Will, we're going to start with you, Kevin. What do you remember from this show, and what did you think of it?
I think I was about like 11 or 12 when this came out. So, I mean, I remember it, but I think my little brother watched it a lot more than I did. I don't recall watching this at all, like 5 minutes here and there when I was younger. But I do remember not watching it on purpose. Like, it didn't seem like my thing. And it's weird because, and I hate to use that word because I'm going to use it again, coming from me, thinking something's weird is just, you would think I would just automatically love that. But it was different to me. I don't remember liking it at all.
You think it might have been just a little too kiddie for you, or?
No, it was really hard to put my finger on it. I don't think it was until this last rewatch where I really started to think about it and take notes and see what I liked about it as an adult, and then trying to reflect maybe why I didn't like it as a kid. And to a point, yeah, maybe it was a bit too kid friendly, but there's a lot of unkid friendly references in this show too. So it's kind of toss up. I mean, everyone knows, like, I'm a huge Marvel fan. So I was watching like X-Men at the time, or Spider-Man. I loved those kind of cartoons. So this was not that, but that didn't mean bad things about it. I don't think I necessarily understood or respected that as a kid.
Yeah, it's very different.
Yeah, like looking back on it now, the first 5 episodes are beautiful. I mean, it is very much like an 80s style cartoon where it's very fantasy, quick, and yes, it's a cartoon, but it's for something that as serious as it was in a way, it was still very cartoonish,
right,
with its gags or whatnot. But it was one of the more mature themed cartoons that I think I've ever seen for that time.
I would say so. It also had a pretty grand scale going on to it too, like any good 80s or 90s animation would have. It had to have the scope to go with it.
Yeah, and it was a great scope. I mean, there were so many places left that they could have gone with that. They were going to go find the treasures that weren't found by the king.
Yeah, they only found like the one at the very end that was a treasure he had not yet found.
And that part was where it finally started getting interesting for me, because they were no longer gems. They'd evolved into living things, and Lord knows what else.
Right. Now, Will, did you see this when it first came out years ago, or
Absolutely?
What is your experience with this?
Watching this just completely took me back. I think I lost a lot of my analytical ability just locked into this cartoon. I loved this cartoon as a kid. Like I remember getting up to watch it and making a point of watching it, and then watching it. I remember watching the miniseries, and then I know I watched it when it was airing as the full season.
For me, I've always kind of remembered the show. I know I watched it, but for me, I always had this idea that the show was called Maelstrom or Maelstrom throughout all the years, and that there was this flying bird that only cared about like papaya or a fruit or a melon or something. And so for years, like, you know, since we grew up in like the non-internet era, I couldn't really remember like how to like search for anything like that. Like even when I was in college, when the internet was really like coming to the forefront and everybody was getting on, wasn't until a few years ago that I was finally like, hey, does anybody remember this show? And somebody just straight up said, that's Pirates of Darkwater. I'm like, oh, it's not called Maelstrom? No, that's the name of the ship, you moron. Oh, because I don't know, the ship is like one of the coolest things on the show.
Yeah.
But I mean, I had a kind of a running gag of my memory of this show, and then rewatching it now, I think I only watched like what is considered the first 13 episodes, like the first season. The second season or the last 8 episodes, I only maybe remember like a bit or a piece from like the first couple. And then everything else was like, I don't remember this like at all. So that's kind of my experience, how I came back around on this.
Yeah, and it's something that absolutely appealed to me as well. Like it appeals to me now, like their weird technology with like, I don't know, pirate era ships, and like the ships can glide, and like the Maelstrom, like you said, has some of the coolest shit. Like it has like a giant like bay that opens from the mouth, and it has like little like arms that can launch like little miner ships off, and he has like dragon flyers inside. I mean, it's like a really neat blend of fantasy and high technology sci-fi almost, especially the city of, what was the city's name? Octarius?
Octagon
or Optimon.
Octomom.
Oh no. And there's our first turn down the rabbit hole of this episode.
It's bad enough that you guys, I've been calling this Pirates of Greywater for the last 20 some years, but now I've got Octomom stuck in my head.
Well, you've been making like cracks on like our Facebook group too, like potable water and all that stuff.
Which this is not. I mean, so I'm still not wrong. We don't know what the dark water actually is. I mean, it could be poops.
All we know is it's kind of like a little bit of an evil entity of sorts. Like it's normal, like liquid on the surface basically attacks and annihilates anything it touches once it gets a good hold on you. It reminded me of like, I know it's in Star Trek The Next Generation, but the oil slick that just kind of reaches up and grabs you. It's also from like Creepshow with like the oil surface creature that, you know, would come near you and swallow you up, and that'd be the end of you. And then at the end of the Creepshow segment, it jumps out onto the beach and it grabs the guy who thought he got away. So
that was the best story ever.
I felt like there were some good homages going on here, because I'm pretty sure all those episodes were before they even made this, because Next Gen started in, I think, 87, and then Creepshow was like somewhere around there. Yeah, somewhere 88? Around there.
I remember seeing both of those. I remember the Creepshow one. That was special. I always remember that one. And I did think about that when I was watching this. Like, they totally jacked this from fucking Creepshow.
Well, and they made it like a world-encompassing thing, not just a little, it's in a pond sort of thing.
Yes. Yeah, they took a whole lot and threw it into this show. And like, I think that song Concepts might have been also inspired about this show, because they just throw everything in there, like pirates, aliens, weird fantasy creatures,
mutants.
Mutants. Like there's a myth about it, it's probably in this show,
including graboids.
Yes.
Yes.
I couldn't stop thinking about that. So if we're going on all the creature kick here, like if you're gonna rip something off and somehow it all worked in this show, it it gelled, it fit fine. Nothing seemed like, wow, that's kind of random that's in here. The only thing that seemed kind of random to me was like the 3 baby episodes, but
the baby episode? Oh,
yeah, like the baby Leviathan, the baby egg for the monkey birds, and then the living treasure at the end, which to me seemed like another baby.
Okay, so here's my question about that. How did Sony not sue them for Frank Welker using the Slimer voice in another cartoon? Like,
it had to be just different enough, I would think.
I don't know. Well, I mean, it's hard for Frank Welker to be different. You could pick him out in like any show,
right?
At least that particular voice and the voice that he would do for like Niddler or what have you.
Yeah,
but all I could hear was Slimer, so it's like I wanted to be intrigued. And there's this baby Leviathan that looked nothing like the adult Leviathans. It's like, oh wait,
this one, not even close.
Yeah, this one's cute. It doesn't have tentacles hanging from its chin or whatever,
or like the separated eyeballs.
Yeah, the hammerhead eyes.
Yeah, like this one's like cute, like little Nessie, and it sounds like Slimer. So you're like, well, it must be okay.
You're right.
Yeah, because cute things are always safe.
Yeah, right, Mogwai. There was things to like about it, and then there was cheesiness to it, and that was one of those cheesy things. And I think towards the second half of the latter season, like they started getting repetitive with those little things.
Yeah,
like you said, too many kid references. And granted, it's a kid's show. It's about toys or selling toys, really. And the only cool toy to this that I recall was the Maelstrom. Like the ship, I remember the toy did open up in the front, and I think my brother might have had it. I don't recall, but I mean,
they did have a line of toys, and they did do video games and some comic books, from what I gather.
Yeah, I did not remember the video game at all.
But yeah, I want to see if I can get that, or if it's going to be on the Sega Genesis Mini too as a hidden game. That'd be pretty sweet.
But... right.
I don't remember any of the toys, and I was usually pretty on top of toy releases.
Yeah, they were just kind of like the standard, like posable action figure sort of deal.
Oh,
yeah.
But when I looked at them, I'm like, oh, because they do sell. You can get these on like eBay. You can get them loose or mint on card or whatever, and their prices ranged, and they didn't really look all that cool. But if you're really into the hobby and you really love the show, I can see how you'd want to pick these up. You can even get one of the scout ships. I think you could get a Maelstrom. I don't know about the Wraith ships though.
If I was to collect any of that, it probably would be the Maelstrom. The Wraith wasn't really anything special. Like,
no, it was the ship they stole at the beginning of the show.
Yeah, it was like
they tried to steal it back.
Hey, it can fly. How many ships can fly?
Yeah, that kind of got me at first. Like, the
fuck
is happening here?
Well, and then the hand glider things. You know, if you had that on the freaking toy, and you could like, you know, if you had a Wraith ship and you had like it could really spread out and fly, or you could have the separated like little, you know, air hand glider that they had and would frequently fly off on a couple times. Yet nobody knew how to land the damn thing. That was every time they would take flight, I'm like, boy, they're not going to land well.
No.
It's like someone stole Da Vinci's project and fucked it all up.
Yeah.
It looked like one of his old flying machines that probably caused how many deaths? I don't know.
Just to finish up on a thought there, the comic books, those can be purchased. I see you can get them off of eBay. I want to know if you could actually get them off of like the Kindle or the eShop or something. I think that would be fun to get, just to even like read those. I don't know how loosely they're connected or anything like that, but there's like the 6-issue major one, and then there's like a 3-episode story arc after that. So I'm not sure how well that ties into like the overall story or anything, but those seem a little on the pricey side. They're about like $10 a pop. But if you want like a full set, it's about like $100.
Woo!
Wow.
Well, that's all 9. They're all bagged, carded, and they look pretty mint. But if you're willing to go with something a little more beat up and you just want to read the stuff, you could probably get the issues for about $6 to $7 each.
That's not too bad.
Even though the price tag on them says like $1.99 or something from when it first came out.
I'd be really interested, depending on what they have in them. If they're expanding the universe more,
Yeah, that's what I couldn't quite figure out. I didn't look too in depth on that though.
I mean, like you said, they have a really, really grand scheme and grand scale for this show. If it probably could have kept going for a few more seasons at least.
Well, there is a Japanese anime that kind of took this concept and really took it the extra mile, and that's One Piece. So any of you anime fans out there, when I was watching Pirates of the Dark Water here, I kept getting some vibes of, wow, this feels a little bit like One Piece. Like it almost feels like it's eager to dip into more characters, and you're searching for treasures around the world, and you continually get like these boss fights. The only thing I'm glad it didn't do, but it feels like One Piece maybe saw this and they thought, how can we simplify this and make it work for us? Because ultimately in One Piece episodes, you get like 12 minutes of new animation and about 10 to 12 minutes of recycled animation from previous episodes, recapping the story arc every episode. Typical One Piece. You watch it for like the 10-11 minutes that are actually brand new animation that adds to the story. But you're talking about a show that's over 1,000 episodes and has like 15 movies. Fuck. I've only made it about episode 300-ish before Amy and I were like, we can't keep up with this.
God damn.
Well, I can see part of the reason for the recaps.
Yeah. Well, there's also lots of filler arcs and stuff. If they had just adapted the manga, it wouldn't have been so crazy. But it's a moneymaker in Japan. But if this had even had like one more season or two, I think they might have wrapped up the story. But I don't know. The first 13 episodes felt like we were like getting a treasure of the week sort of formula episode. Oh, yeah. And then once we hit the back end, it felt like, what are we doing? We're changing directions. We're changing gears. We're slowing down. Maybe you felt like you were going to get more episodes and they just never happened. So it felt a little weird how it ended with like the Living Treasure episode. But like, man, that first like 13, it felt like we're really moving. We're really getting with this story. This really designed just to be a short show when it only goes like 2-3 seasons and toys, video games franchise going. But then it slowed down and they started introducing new elements to like the Dark Water with like the Dark Disciple and all that stuff.
Which he wasn't that bad. It was Morpho. When they added him, I was like, who is this? Wish the Pintor?
Yeah, that's what I thought.
I mean, he was okay, but like he very much seemed like someone from Cobra Law.
Right.
For anyone listening, that's G.I. Joe, like the religious aspect of Cobra.
Right.
Anyway, but yeah, he reminded me a little bit of Serpentor with the dick coming out the side of his face.
Yeah.
Or the
but not as cool looking.
The snork on the side of his face, whatever.
Yeah, I saw that. That guy was pretty lame.
He was okay, but yeah, I liked Bloth as is. Like I didn't see Bloth needing to have a partner on the ship. That was out of character for Bloth.
Yeah. Then he took out like the soothsayer, so
that was dope.
Yeah, Amy was like, why would he do that? I'm like,
made him feel better.
Yeah, it's like, who's this? They just got introduced and now they're getting kicked to the curb. Yeah, pretty much. Welcome to a pirate ship.
This show. Okay.
So I wanted to ask something about first, how did this air? And also, it seemed like they really kind of messed up the pacing on the first season with how it ended.
I think so.
Yeah.
Me personally, I think this probably would have done really well by slicing out like 80% of this fucking show, making it more concise and release it to the theaters. It was it would have been good as a cult classic film.
Oh yeah.
But it's been, at least in my eyes, forgotten as a Saturday morning cartoon. Now I know there is a community out there, like we talked about. There are people that like the show, the comics, and the video game that have not forgotten it whatsoever and probably tell me to go fuck myself right now. But by and large, this isn't one of those things where it's like you commonly hear people going, we want a revival, which is also surprising.
Well, maybe not so much in some aspects, given elements of the era in the show, like certain language and certain character.
Well, it could be updated to be a little more friendly, or if it went to the right kind of home and supportive staff, it could still maintain its maturity and just kick out a little more of the kiddie stuff and make it more adult oriented, not adult oriented, just a little more edgy, because around this time, I'm probably going to get this wrong too, but there was a Steven Spielberg animation show. It was like Invasion USA, Invasion America, something or other. That came out. That was on prime time. The ratings didn't do all that great, but it was pretty friggin' cool. And this is almost the kind of property you can easily go back to and bring back now. And with the way animation is cost-wise and speed-wise, you wouldn't have the production delays that this show had. You could get it on for $500,000 per episode. You could probably do even more than you could back then. I'm almost guaranteeing that. And you could probably bring most of the voice acting staff that's still around, and you could really you could bring this back and wrap it up in a nice season or two arc on some home.
Yeah. And I would really love to see that, because I think they could take a lot of the more interesting aspects and go further. And it'd be great to have them cut out a lot of the kiddie stuff.
Yeah.
A lot of the repetitive stuff. And it would be cool to see a more mature Blarth and what he might get up to. And it'd be interesting to see Ren maybe a little bit more edgy, like you said. I don't know.
Yeah, he seemed he was pulling on the He-Man strings of Prince Adam a little too much at times.
Ren confused me. I wasn't quite sure what they were trying to say with his character.
The first 5 episodes, you got a feeling, and then it started to shift around for the remainder of the series. It felt like it was starting to lean one way, then you go back the other way, and then, hey, wait a minute, no. It's like, dude, can you pick a direction and stick to it?
I thought they were coming clean and saying, oh no, he is heterosexual, when that he was looking at Tula's silk gown that she put on her pants.
Oh yeah.
And he was like, what are you wearing? And then I completely mistook that. He was looking literally at her pants, not at her in the pants. I'm like, oh, okay, I get it. He is.
Those pants are fancy.
Just because we're pirates does not mean we steal from each other's dressers.
Wrong pirates show.
No, I mean, Rin came off to me as gay, which is fine, but he was not a pirate.
Yeah.
It was almost like when they were asking who are the masters of the universe. Was that He-Man and the good guys, or was that Skeletor and his bad guys?
Yeah.
And there was really no clear answer. And this is kind of the same way, except for I think Bloth is the only pirate, real pirates that you see in this. Ayaz, Tula, and Ren, I mean, yeah, they want to be pirates and they say they're pirates, but they don't do a whole lot of pirating.
Right.
They don't do any pirating, I don't think.
Ayaz tries to.
Yeah,
right.
He's selfish and greedy. I like his moxie.
So
I can't say I like his moxie because I'm going to say some real horrible shit about him soon.
So,
you can go ahead.
Touching on that about Ren and the way they wrote his character and the way they portrayed him, do you think that's maybe part of why it never got to finish?
No.
That maybe kids had a hard time relating to him, or had a different time.
I don't know if that would play too much on the ratings or demographics. I think that's a really good question.
I wouldn't think so, because he was approachable, I think, for kids, the same way Adam was in He-Man. He wasn't he was be someone that a kid could go meet their hero and not be fucking oh, he's so big and scary. There's nothing big and scary about Ren.
No.
Yeah, he's real nice. Even to the bad guys, he's nice.
He's ridiculously nice.
I think part of the problem might have been that they didn't really explain why he was just in a lighthouse all alone in his homeland with just a caretaker, because they never really talked about, okay, so what happened since your town died and you've been on your own? Why are you in this lighthouse by yourself? What is the deal here? they just never got into that. This just like, oh, he's this kid from a lighthouse. Oh, he's a prince. Okay, we're on. The story's running now. Like,
that was a really fast start.
Yeah, I felt like they kind of missed a little bit of backstory for him. I kind of was hoping like eventually, maybe down the road they'd eventually address that, because I'll give this show points. It had really good writing. Like, they didn't really miss a beat on like what the ultimate goal was. It just feels like a couple character choices they would make here and there, and then like, I don't know, lack of wanting to go back and fill in like gaping plot holes that were there in the original series. They didn't want to like really fill back in. So
kids aren't smart enough to remember that shit.
Nah.
Well, I remembered enough of this show to know that there was a stupid bird always wanting to eat something, and then the cool ship called the Maelstrom.
Yeah, I remember Niddler was something that turned me away from the show. Like, you guys know I love He-Man like on par with Batman, and Orko's included with that. Like, I cried when Orko died, and I'm 42 years old, and I had no shame about that. But
I liked Orko.
Niddler is a cross between Orko and Snarf.
Yeah. And not in battle mode.
No, he's a lot more like Franklin from Texas Chainsaw Massacre, where you can't wait for that motherfucker to die. Like, you wanted something to happen to him. Okay, gluttony is my least favorite of the 7 deadly sins. It's just disgusting to me. And like, Niddler's whole thing is food, and I'm gonna fuck over my friends because food. It's like, why is he still with you people? Or why aren't you feeding him more so he fucking does shit right?
Yeah, that would be a very easy solution.
But I mean, as far as like cartoon mascots go, that's what he was. And
he wasn't a very good one.
No.
Well, he did have a couple of good episodes.
Yeah.
But for the most part, he was the annoying side character that really served only a purpose of flying somebody away at a moment's notice.
Yeah, like at least Cringer his cowardice was funny.
Yeah.
But like, he was more towards Snarf, where you really just wanted to mute the TV whenever he would go, Snarf, Snarf.
Oh, God, you'll make me want to mute you right now.
Oh, God. But it's like, he was just off-putting. For one thing, he's ugly and stupid looking.
Yeah.
Not
Monkey
like
bird.
Yeah. Like, even Snarf was marketable. Like,
right.
Yeah, he's not marketable. You're not going to make like a plush toy out of a monkey bird.
No, I mean,
they did out of Jar Jar, so hey, it can't be too far off.
Well, that's Lucas.
Gee, I wonder where he got the idea from.
I don't know. Like, he was not cool. He was not off-putting. Everyone loves flying monkeys until you put a beak on them and give them a fucking gluttonous appetite.
Only flying monkeys I liked was what? Flash Gordon? Were those flying monkeys? Or was that something else I'm thinking of? No, I'm thinking Wizard of Oz. Never mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Flash is still mad at me.
Flash.
I once superimposed a picture of Flash and Jeff at a Hooters with Ted behind them, carrying a beer going, woohoo!
And that was not okay by him.
Yeah, no, he found out about that later and was like screaming, fake news, fake news. It's not fake news. I fucking made it. It's real.
It was later resolved. It wasn't a big thing. He was just caught off guard by it. That's all.
Yeah, resolved in the fact that he never found out who I am.
And you're still alive.
Yeah, no shit, right? Sorry, Mr. Jones. But anyway, back to Pirates.
The Pirates.
What did you guys think of the cast?
Excellent.
Because like,
you mean
I
voice
have
acting cast?
Yeah, I have nothing bad to say about the voice acting cast.
Well, they certainly like their Star Trek characters, because I could pick out 3 of them like that.
Who was that?
Rene Auberjonois, who was in Deep Space Nine. He was Odo.
Yeah.
And then Kate Mulgrew, Captain Catherine Janeway from Star Trek Voyager.
Who was she?
She was in the Ghost episode. She was the captain of the Ghost ship.
Oh, okay,
wow.
okay.
I recognized her voice, and then I wrote Brock Peters, who was in Star Trek and Star Trek Deep Space Nine. He was in
Wait, time travel or a different character?
Brock Peters?
Yeah, because he was an admiral in Star Trek 3 and 4, right?
Correct. And then he was also Captain Sisko's dad in Star Trek Deep Space Nine.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, a couple of years after this, he is working on Star Trek, and so is Kate Mulgrew.
And we'll get to the other biggie in a bit, of course.
Mm-hmm.
He has one of the coolest voices in like cartoon bad guydom ever. Like he's good, so good that I was still surprised, but okay with the fact that Tim Curry, being a regular on the show, was not the lead bad guy.
That was a weird little.
And I think this is around the same time that he was doing Peter Pan and the Neverland Pirates, where he was playing Captain Hook.
I think so.
So he was definitely like a big name at that point, because that was in the early days of Fox.
Wait, so who did I get lost with some of this stuff? Who did Tim Curry play? Who did he voice?
The one-legged guy.
Conk.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. If you listen to his voice, the Hungarian accent, that's his accent that he uses in Congo.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, so
wow.
It's like
well, he was great. I mean, I also really like that Hector Elizondo was the voice of Ayaz.
Oh, he was,
and
so
the narrator
good.
of the show that we heard in our opening.
Yes, and of course, Jodie Benson was Tula.
Yeah.
Which I was waiting for her to break out into a song or whine to her dad about something at any given point in time, but
you're right.
It was my wife turned around and goes, "Are you watching Little Mermaid?" No, but that is her.
Yeah, I know,
wow.
Right? And I wrote one other name down, but I could never figure out what character he played. John Rhys Davies.
Oh, shit.
He was in the credits, and I could not quite figure out who the hell he voiced. Or if it was just a background secondary character.
Maybe the pirate that owns the casino?
Maybe. But I noticed they were listing all these names in all the credits, even though they only appeared in like maybe one episode or a couple.
Cheaper that way.
Yeah. But yeah, when I saw his name, I'm like, who the fuck is he voicing? I haven't figured it out. So if anybody knows, please let me know, because I'd love to go back and actually try and hear it.
Yeah, because he was, well, I mean, they were all famous at this point.
Oh yeah, for whatever reason. Yeah,
I think the only person on here that wasn't famous yet, but was just about to be, was Jim Cummings.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah.
And like, Lordy, you can't even tell, but maybe one character that is Jim Cummings,
right?
Because he takes over for Ayaz after the miniseries, right?
Yes.
Okay, that's right. Yeah,
because Roddy only did it for the first 5 episodes.
Yeah, and which it was hard to tell that was him either. But Jim Cummings is a fucking voiceover god. Love him.
Well, I was definitely hearing Peter Cullen for a couple of episodes at least too. I know his name is on the credits, but when I was hearing that, I'm like, before I even saw the credits, I told Amy, "That's Optimus Prime." She's like, "Yeah, what?" I'm like, "Yeah, that's Optimus Prime," and he also voiced the narration for Voltron, so I know that voice.
And it's Eeyore.
Yeah.
Which I always fucking love. It's like I didn't really realize that when I was a kid, because I couldn't stand the New Adventures of Winnie the Pooh. But yeah, it's like you watch it now because my kids love that shit. And it's like, oh my God, it's Optimus Prime. I want to go watch Transformers now. And my kids are kids and don't like that shit.
Yeah.
Just to clarify, I wanted to watch the cartoon Transformers, not the Michael Bay movies. I'm not.
Even though Peter Cullen voices Optimus in those too.
He does, and that was the only thing that they did get right in that movie. Like,
yeah, they couldn't even bring the Megatron voice guy back either.
Oh, no, they did. They just didn't have him playing fucking Megatron.
Yeah, I
know. They had him play Starscream in like the second or third one. Or no, I'm sorry, Soundwave.
Soundwave, yeah.
That's right. He was who was not a boombox, was a satellite.
You know, I like the first one, but after that, I'm like, I'm done.
Yeah. So let's talk about that in this regard.
Yeah.
Hasbro had great cartoons. Cartoons. Horrible movies. Just like every single Hasbro cartoon has or movie has become horrible. Hanna-Barbera has a better track record, I think, of having movies made from their cartoons that didn't suck.
Correct.
But my problem is like 90% of Hanna-Barbera cartoons are shady to me. Like, they represent the worst of the 70s when you couldn't have violent cartoons.
Right.
So, I mean, maybe that was one of those things that I always held against this, is I knew it was a Hanna-Barbera cartoon.
Well, yeah, you get it's almost like a stigma, like, oh, it's going to be like Scooby-Doo, which is the same thing over and over and over again.
Which is funny because that's the only fucking Hanna-Barbera cartoon that I really like.
Right.
But that and the Flintstones. I don't mind the Flintstones so much.
Yeah. No, I like the Jetsons, but
I like the Jetsons. I cannot handle the Flintstones. And so John Rice Davies was one of the game players, and the game players of Undar.
Oh. So he was in that episode. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll have to rewatch that one. I watched that one like a couple nights ago.
There's some really good episodes in here.
Yeah, there are. There was only like one or two that I felt were like snooze-inducing.
Snooze-inducing.
Well, probably here in the last 8 episodes. Any of the ones before that, like, I was very engaged. But let me see if I can figure out which one it was. I think it was the plague episode. Niddler had to go back home for the baby egg. And I'm like, oh my God, this is this is too much Niddler for me. Yeah, they were focusing on him, and yes, he had a brave bone in his body to save something, but like,
for once,
I don't know, it was kind of stretching it for me.
They did get too much filler, and that's why I said if they would have made this a lot more concise,
yes,
and like just have it be an adventure to get the treasures, because you go from having 7 to 7 episodes beyond that, you still haven't gotten any other fucking treasures, and you're just like, snore.
And they lose...
that was me. You like totally lost me as an adult. Like I was bored.
Right.
Yeah. And they lost sight of who the villain was, it seemed like.
Yeah, they're trying to introduce like the Dark Disciple and the actual iteration of the Dark Water demon.
But I was referring specifically to like the episode where it's like the Dagon Master who was the villain. He turned Ren into like the
Dagon. Yeah.
And it seemed like it really kind of lost its direction after they partially revived Octopon. Like, that should have been the season finale.
It technically was.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, I'm so confused about how this show aired.
Well, okay, so the first 5 episodes were a miniseries. And then after that, the next 8 episodes are basically the rest of season 1 when they decided to expand it. So that takes you all the way up to the Dark Dweller, where they actually faced the Darkwater evil and Ren saved Tula from down there. The next episode, the Dark Disciple, that's when they start introducing Serpentor knockoff.
Morpho?
Yeah, when they thank you. I didn't write the name down. I'm like, I only saw him like 3 times here.
How often do I remember names? That's awesome.
Yeah, I know. So the second they introduced Morpho in episode 14 and going forward, that is considered season 2. And that was more in syndication than on ABC.
Yeah, so why did it start on Fox and then go to ABC and then syndication?
Well, Fox Kids, it was just designed as a mini series. When they were actually going to series, ABC probably won the bidding war for that because the mini series was widely successful.
And Fox was just gaining speed as far as being a big thing in 91.
Right. If this came out around Batman the Animated Series, it probably would have finished.
Ooh, okay. But Batman, they ordered tons of fucking episodes plus syndication, which was good because it was a Monday through Friday show.
Yeah.
Not like DuckTales, where they only filmed 2 seasons and then had it on syndication for 6.
Right.
Or even Chip and Dale, that was just 1 season. Who the fuck knew that?
Chip and Dale.
Sexy dancers. I lost it again. Oh, the cards. Fox hadn't really become huge when it comes to ordering their cartoon series and shit like that. But
right.
I think if for the direction that they were taking this in, maybe a Monday through Friday show would have been better for them. So they could have had all that bullshit and still had the point after so long, because I understand they need to have all these filler episodes because you have to have different toys to sell. And I don't know, just they stretched it too thin, way too thin. And I think they could have had a good resolution within those 20 episodes by cutting out a lot of the bullshit for the extra toys.
Yeah, if they were just going to go for like a simple, like 21 episode arc, like, hey, let's just do this thing. Let's stay laser focused. Let's get them all the treasures and get right to the ending. If we get another season, we could start a brand new story. Like every year could be a new story, but with the same crew.
Yeah. You know, and it's Hasbro knew to knock off their characters in order to sell new toys. I mean,
right.
It backfired on them horribly, but they did get different toys out, like with Hot Rod and shit like that, or Galvatron. Yeah, that's what they called them. Which Galvatron was also the way of not only one, selling different toys, but two, not having a toy that was a gun and getting shit on by everybody.
Yeah, my mom did not let me have that Transformer.
I could never find it. I don't think my parents would have necessarily cared.
I could have gotten it, but nobody ever got it for me, and nobody could find it anyway. So that was one of those toys. The second it got flagged for not having the orange cap, like, you know, all parents were like, nope, not doing it. And you couldn't even find it anyway.
Yeah, that's true. That, and even Optimus was hard to find.
I had an Optimus, but not Megatron. I wanted Megatron and I wanted Starscream, but all I had was like, I had a few. I know I had Bumblebee and Soundwave. Beyond that, I don't remember.
Yeah, I had a whole bunch. But I mean, I was kind of constricted in my toy choices because I wasn't allowed to have G.I. Joe or He-Man. But I had lots of Transformers.
I had more G.I. Joe than anything else, honestly. And then I gave them all to my cousins when I got a little too old for G.I. Joe. And in hindsight, I wish I would have kept some of them. But that's okay.
That's horrible that you were denied He-Man as a child.
Yeah.
Yeah, couldn't watch it. Couldn't.
My kids won't fucking watch it. They'll watch Rob's goddamn documentary, but they won't fucking watch He-Man. Pieces of shit. Anyway,
good documentary though.
Yes, it is. Fucking the song at the end makes my son cry. I'm like, dude, really? You haven't even watched this shit and you're crying? My boy's emotional, sensitive. But anyway, Pirates, what would you say if they tried making a revival today? How do you think it would be? Do you think it would go?
I was going to say, I think that it would have to go more like a Pixar route with like a lot of adult jokes thrown in and some adult themes touched on, but still very kid-friendly and approachable.
Well, I agree. And speaking of adult themes, there's plenty to choose from. Let's see here. I made a list.
You really did, people. For if you're listening to audio and not seeing video.
Let's see here. They make it a point to say Seamen of Dark Water. Caught that one. That was pretty funny. Like they said seamen. Let's see here. What else? There's my initial note of Ioz was there seems to be a little misogyny coming from this character Ioz. Now, mind you, by the second episode, he's probably made fun of women 30 times, said wench instead of bitch 15 times.
He's the main reason you could start a drinking game with this show.
Yes, I swear to God, you could get drunk in first 20 minutes at worst. Like there's a lot of misogyny from this that would not fly today. Let's see here. What else? Murder. Someone is murdered in the first 90 seconds of this show.
Yep.
Someone that didn't do what Bloth wanted. Bloth picked him up and threw him right into the pit with the constrictor. And you never saw that character again.
Nope.
And I want to say 3 more people died in the pilot too that he was killing.
At least one died in the Dark Water.
Yes. Oh, homophobic taunts. That was my favorite. They did that a lot. He was kind of oh my God, you can't say that anymore. Stop. like every time they would fight the actual pirates, it was always like, come on, ladies, get it on. It's like, oh no, dude, Macho Man's getting in trouble for that these days. You can't say shit like that. So, and there was a lot of that, like, basically emasculating dudes by calling them sissies or ladies.
Wenches.
Yeah. They make up their own swear words. If I have to hear fucking Chongo Longo one more goddamn time, I'm going to core out my own eardrums. And on that note, I feel really, really bad for the parents of the kids that watched this religiously, because they were trying to use those terms to make catchphrases for your children to fucking repeat. So it's like, one, okay, the parents are probably fucking going nuts having to listen to this shit. And two, the bullies have to deal with whooping your fucking ass for saying the stupid shit at school. Don't say stupid shit like Chongo Longo.
It'd be better just to say Cowabunga.
Cowabunga was fucking awesome.
Chongo Longo.
Oh, let's see. They make fun of the blind quite a bit. There's a lot of ableist statements in here. Fat shaming happens several times in every single fucking episode. They call Conk, Tim Curry's character, pig face or pig, short little pig. Like, it's always something about his weight. And granted, he does look kind of like a pig, but he has no snout. That's just fat shaming.
Right.
Let's see here. Greed, slavery. They brought up slavery.
Not just once, but like twice.
And not only slavery, slave traders. They fight slave traders.
And racially based slaves.
Yes. Gambling is portrayed as a good thing. You know what? That might have actually been it. Oh, necromancy. Yeah, that one too. Which, I mean, really, that's fun. If you can't have a little necromancy in a cartoon, it's not worth having.
Correct. I mean, hey, it's on Fox too. Please.
That might have. Oh, wait. My favorite. One of the episodes, the villain that they fight is Ren's dad's side bitch. From years ago. Tried to fucking kill him.
I have notes about this particular episode. I said the cougar hunt is strong.
I had to pause it. I'm sitting there laughing, and my wife's like, "What is wrong with you?" I'm like, this episode's about this dude's fucking Sancha. I
don't know. That episode had me dying and laughing the entire time.
And her explanation is, it didn't go very well. No shit. You tried to kill him and Ren's mom. So then she uses dark water to make herself youthful again, because she wasted like 20 years of her life pining over Ren's dad. But she's still infatuated with getting Ren's dad. So in her mind, Ren is King Primus.
Yes.
Great name, by the way. Love that King band. She kidnaps him and tries to fucking rape him.
Yep.
They had attempted rape on a Saturday morning cartoon. So it's like this show gets a few passes for me on horrible shit that I like, because it's funny to joke about on cartoons, not things I actually like. But beyond that, that was like the adult themes. I don't know what they would put in now for adult themes that would seem worse than that. Like that was all some pretty horrible shit.
Yeah, maybe they'd intersplice a little Stacy's Mom by Fountains of Wayne. You know, as a soundtrack to that episode these days.
But no, like, and for all that stuff that they show, rape, murder, slavery, slave trading.
Hey, pirates.
They do show piracy a little bit here and there. They actually show the dark water in like 4 or 5 episodes. That was kind of neat. But their weapons, they could not show real weapons. Like, and I think that was another thing that got me as a kid, is Ren's sword is like 2-3 inches of his dad's broken sword at the hilt.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, Lino had a much cooler fucking sword, and it got way bigger than that.
Dude. Yeah.
And then in true Hanna-Barbera fashion, the weapons were all animal. Like they, not even just the weapons, like they took a cephalopod and shoved their head up its ass into its fucking body with sound effects and everything and used it as a diving helmet. But like, oh my God, that thing's alive, and they just jammed their heads up its ass.
I was like, wow, Hancock would be impressed.
No shit. And all the guns were like lizards or
oh yeah, like
stingrays.
Yeah.
I mean, it was cutesy type stuff, but I just really wanted to hear one go, it's a living.
They had little crossbows. They had little crossbows. I don't think those involved animals.
No, well, not all of them, but a lot of, okay, so one of the guns actually was a squirt gun with black water in it.
Yeah, that was dope.
They did shoot like mini harpoons too, and towards the end of the last couple of episodes where they hit like the deck, and Ayaz was looking at it like, what the hell is he shooting at us?
Oh, yeah. No, some of it was creative. Other parts just really screamed Hanna-Barbera. And it was also the time, like you couldn't show weapons on cartoons anymore at that point because of, I want to say because of the Intertech guns and the Judas Priest shootings.
Yeah.
That was a big part of it. Like it was getting too much out of the Reagan era with all the toys that were coming out that were guns. Intertech, for those who don't know or don't remember, was a squirt gun that was motorized, and they were identical size and shape to military grade firearms. They had an M16, MP5, Mac 11. They had just about everything. I think they may even come out with the AK-47 at one point.
Oh,
I never did get the rocket launcher, but that looked really cool as far as like a phallus little squirt gun. But they did not have red tips on the guns at first, and a police officer shot a child that way.
Yeah.
So after that, guns, cap guns, squirt guns, whatever, like Jeff said, had to have red or orange tips. And then Intertech got sued so fucking bad after that they started making like neon colored guns instead. And they didn't last after that, which I liked playing G.I. Joe with them. I thought they were cool, but as an adult, do we need toys like that? No, probably not.
No, we would eventually evolve into super soakers.
Those were cool.
Yeah,
those were amazing.
Yeah, I caused some shit with some super soakers. I got the 50 when it first came out, and then when the 200 came out, it was like,
oh yeah,
wait.
Oh, no. Now you're talking my language, buddy.
I want that one.
I think one of the only other episodes I wanted to like ask you guys about was the collection episode where the guy was bottling up all these old ships, and then he bottled up the Wraith ship too, and then like Ayaz's former gang ship. I really liked that one. I thought that was a lot of fun. I think they missed something by not having a treasure on one of those older ships, though.
Yeah, that would have been a great twist. And they're like giving it to Ren as one of the other crews gives it to Ren, not even knowing what it is.
Right.
And then the compass lights up or whatever.
That guy was interesting. He looked like the demon Etrigan from Justice League.
Right.
But his character was more Basil Rathbone from the Magic Sword.
Right.
Like, oh, sure, I could help you with my magic, or I could help you fix this problem with my magic that I caused with my magic. He was an interesting wizard. Now, them adding the concept of wizardry was not bad, because this was like a Dungeons and Dragons type show. But it was when they crossed aliens, wizardry, piracy, and it got to be a bit much. So when they got to him, that part wasn't so bad. It was Morpho that became that recurring character who's like, okay, I don't fucking like this guy. He's not necessary on here. Really, he should be Bloth's bitch, like everyone else on the ship is, and he's not. Because I mean, Bloth, I one of the things I loved about him is like he kidnapped people instead of recruiting people. Like that was him recruiting. It's kidnapping other sailors. And like no one wanted to work for him. No, like pirates would run from their Tortuga or whatever when he was sailing towards their port.
Well, even Conk was like, I hate working for this dude. What am I doing here? He's even getting drunk in a last episode being like, I can't do this anymore. I don't want to work for this guy. He would have been a cool villain all on his own. Like if we had had another season and he went off on his own, he's like, you know what? I'm gonna steal this compass. I'm gonna steal the treasures for me, not for him, not for anybody else, because I'm a pirate. There's no pirate code in this show.
I would have liked that. I would have liked that because again, your main characters that are good guys were horrible fucking pirates.
Yeah.
Like, sure, they were racist and they were misogynistic and they thought they could steal shit, but they weren't that good at what they do.
No.
I mean, the pirates behind them had a great reputation for being shitty people.
Well, yeah, that was their whole deal.
Yeah.
Well, Ren even bitches about that once. Like, nobody believes who I am.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, aside from that, do you know who the voice of Ren is?
I don't.
Nope. That is Superman.
Oh.
That is the voice of Superman from Justice League going forward. Superman, the animated series.
Oh, I should have known that. I mean, I recognized the name, but I didn't look up what he was doing.
Does not sound remotely like himself. Like it's a very boyish tone that he puts on there, whereas like, and you can hear it a little bit in his Clark Kent. Yeah, but you don't hear his Superman voice in this at all. I only know because I looked it up and I was like, that name sounds really familiar. It's Superman! Yay!
Okay, so at least one of us looked it up.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of had to. Curiosity gets the better of me because this was a good cast. It was a really good cast of actors.
Was that part of why it cost so much per episode?
Yeah, I think so.
Well, that and the animation, because for animation cells, normal shows around this time, I thought I read were like about 6,000 for a count. This show was double that.
Yeah.
So you're doubling the work. So all the animation work, there was production delays. So that includes more money. So factor at least $500,000 per episode. And this is an expensive and difficult to animate show. And even when I was watching with Amy on my DVD set, which is a manufactured on DVD, it's not a press disc. So if you're looking for that, you can get it from Amazon. It's between $20 to $30. Just keep an eye out for a sale. For the most part, episodes are good. Audio quality is weird on one. You get a wobble, you get some static. Otherwise, animation quality is just kind of a couple episodes. Otherwise, the first 5 look great. Anyway,
it's a good box set.
Oh, it's a good box set. And but like, you can easily see like where a lot of the costs went. But at this time, there was probably some definite costs going to the voice acting, but a lot of it was going towards like the animating because it required so much work.
Why did it require so much work? I mean, the animation is really gorgeous, but I didn't realize it was that.
Well, you're animating water and physical movement on top of water. You're also animating ships. Like there's so much action. Nobody's ever like standing still.
Yeah.
In this show. And that's partly why, I think.
Oh, okay.
And everything's more clear as well. If you go back and you watch episodes of say like Ghostbusters or Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Captain N, those shows look like the second half of Pirates of Dark Water. Yeah. The first 5 episodes are pretty much on par with the Disney theatrical release. Right. Like there was more frames per second, so you got to see the movement more clearly. It wasn't staticky or loose looking, choppy, nothing like that. It was really, really pretty. And then they just, like, fuck it, we got them hooked.
Hey, we can hit cruise. I mean, you could still see like shortcuts in the animation from here and there. So they were definitely trying to like cut some corners and save a couple of bucks. But
how did David Kirshner convince these people to spend this money on the first 5 episodes? It's like he'd come out with some really good movies at that point, but like they just like threw faith at him, like, sure, take all this fucking money.
Man, I would love to hear what that pitch was, honestly.
I don't know, because Child's Play did not make that much fucking money in the box office.
No, it did not.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. And again, for as smart as he is, and for easily as he's brought Chucky back 2 or 3 times after the fact, why he couldn't finish this? Like, why did he not give a shit? Or was this not a project that he was really that passionate about fulfilling? I don't know.
Yeah, that was something I was going to ask. Did it get canceled or did it just kind of fizzle out? What happened?
It was
after?
canceled while it was in syndication. Yeah, they were running way too far behind on their production schedule. So,
Gotcha.
And part of the problem with it is when they show episodes in syndication, and sometimes even when they don't put things out in order. Like Clerks, for example, the pilot episode was never aired. They showed the third episode as the pilot, and no one knew what the hell was going on. That was part of the problem with this cartoon. Everything was linear. It wasn't like MST where you could jump into any episode. Like, you actually had to know what was happening beforehand.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like X-Men where you'd hear previously on X-Men and you get 15 seconds of recap, 30 seconds, whatever. So, yeah, so it would be hard to follow if they're not fucking putting these things out in proper order anyways. So, like, people would be lost.
Yeah, that would be very complicated if you're seeing just random episodes mixed up. That would be...
Yeah, that wouldn't make me want to go buy toys.
Yeah.
That would not be a show that a kid would want to tune into again.
No.
They'd be bored and they'd probably flip the channel while it was on.
But I bought the fuck out of Toxic Crusader toys.
There you go. That's a show that'd be fun to cover too.
If I could find it on disc, shit.
Oh, or anywhere.
I wouldn't mind seeing this story finished out. I wouldn't mind seeing it redone with animation by today's standards. Just don't put it in the hands of Warner Brothers.
Yeah, right.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry. That's who owns Hanna-Barbera now. It's not gonna happen.
Don't put anything in their hands ever.
Yeah, we could have a whole fucking episode about that shit. But that was one of the and I guess I should have known better when I went to go look on HBO Max for this show. Like, the only Hanna-Barbera stuff that they have available is a large part of Scooby-Doo and a little bit of Yogi Bear.
Huh.
Everything else is already licensed out to other places, though.
Oh, okay. But like this one, it's like, who the fuck remembers this shit? Like, why not have that on there? Why not see if people fucking watch it? And if there's a lot of fucking views for it, finish the shit, make some extra money. Oh, wait, that's because David Zaslav is fucking a dumbass.
Oh, you're a Discovery Channel guy, yeah.
Yeah, it was like
all he cared about was reality programming. Now he's in charge of like everything else. It's like, I think you need a little help, buddy. And Alan Horn's not going to be enough. He can only help you with the movies. Everything else, you need other people who know what they're doing to help you along here.
Everything that he does that like he greenlights and puts out, I want them to say, from the creator of Honey Boo Boo. You know, just like you need to know who the fuck is doing this shit because he gave you crap for years. He fed you slop.
Yeah.
So much is falling into place in my mind right now. Wow.
The only show on Discovery I want to see is Growing Belushi, and that's just because I like the Belushi family and I like what they grow. But beyond that, there hasn't been shit on Discovery Channel that I've wanted to see since the 90s before they started putting fake Shark Week stuff out. Like, I hate
Shark
Discovery.
Week.
I used to watch the Learning Channel a bit. There was other stuff that was good for a while, but then it ended up being the same old shit. I think I was more like the home renovation kind of shows that I liked.
Yeah.
I love 90 Day Fiancé. Liz and I both love that show. It's such a train wreck. It's on TLC. I'm not going to call it the Learning Channel. It's on TLC. It's amazing. It's about these people who have fiancés fly over from other countries, a lot of times from completely different countries, and they have 90 days to get married because it's a K-1 visa or whatever. And yeah, they're in total love. And I think the most I've seen was like a couple that spent like a month or two together in person. So usually it's just like a few weeks.
Interesting. I've heard of the show. I didn't know anything about it. So that's
it's a lovely train wreck. It's just fantastic.
I'm biting my lip.
A long time ago, I used to watch Millionaire Matchmaker. I thought that was a train wreck enough by itself.
Yeah, that was a great train wreck.
Didn't they call that Silver Spoons in the 80s?
Yeah, that too. Yeah, somebody should, just to cap off the combo on that, is somebody should definitely step in to help run like the TV and the streaming areas a little bit, because I'd love to see some other Warner Brothers shows get a chance to maybe gain a new audience and I don't know. Get the home video market running again. And hey, put at least put the damn shows out on a real DVD or Blu-ray.
Yeah, but that's the problem. Everyone's going to want to take a cue from Disney and not want to invest in physical media. Like, why let them buy it when you could have them suckle the tit for every month for just to be able to watch it?
Well, if they don't want to do it, they should at least allow their stuff to be licensed out.
Right.
Paramount and Sony are opening up their doors because they see the value on home video still. Disney don't. They just barely put anything out anyway.
Yeah, I mean, not to stray away, but there's a lot that they could put out that I wish they did that they haven't. And we'll talk about that on another show.
Yeah.
But tomorrow probably. But no, like Warner Brothers, and without changing the subject horribly, because I could talk for hours about how stupid they're being right now. They have this wonderful treasure trove of media, great media throughout history. Warner Brothers has made a lot of shit, but Warner Brothers has made a lot of great stuff at the same time. Even when it's crap, it's classic. You know, like the fucking Batman movies. You look back on them and you're like, that wasn't the greatest shit ever, but it's still better than anything else. So fuck it.
Right.
But they don't. They lose all this stuff, and to me, it's not so much about making money with streaming in general or the physical media. Stuff like this is history.
Yeah.
And even if it's bad, it still deserves to be seen.
Yeah.
So it's like that's where I defend shows like this. It's not my thing, but it's somebody's thing, and they deserve to watch it.
Yeah, and to your point, like, I completely agree. Yes, I understand the need for cost cutting. I understand the need for canceling some things that really should not be around. Like, if nobody's watching it, like literally nobody is watching it, yeah, take it off. Because there are shows on HBO Max that were pulled that literally nobody was watching and was just taking up space. And they had the metrics to prove it. Not all of them, but there was enough of them that literally had like tens of views for the months that they've been on there. So why would you keep that? However, there's also something called reestablishing goodwill with the audience that you had and you currently have. Not everything is Game of Thrones. That'll keep your current customers on. You want to keep the old people, you want to keep the older crowd around. You got to keep the catalog alive. You got to keep at least the stuff that people know about. Like a show like this, why the hell are we talking about it? We know about this show. We're the right age. This is your target demo, is us. And if you want to get the younger kids, hey, cool. This is something you can share with your family, and then you can point out, this don't fly this day. This ain't gonna fly anymore. But hey, this is still a fun show. This is a very good story. So that's just my point, is like, there's a place for reestablishing goodwill with your audience and getting people to come back, not just, oh, hey, let's just cut fucking everything.
Well, they had an ad on Twitter today for subscription to HBO Max for 40% off for a limited time. And I couldn't help it. I retweeted that shit going 40% off for a limited time. And I put in quotes, limited time. I'm like, if that's not morbid truth in fucking advertising. And it's like, I think it was my friend Dave Gold says, might have been Dave, 40% off after they cut out 50% of their fucking inventory. So it's like, no shit.
Yeah.
And as far as their shows that had tens of people watching it, Sesame Street, I know for a goddamn fact, was not one of those shows.
Right.
Like, I draw the line at Big Bird and Snuffy. You don't fuck with puppets.
But that, it sounds like there was contractual obligations going on with that. There's more to that story than nobody.
Yeah,
nobody really understands
residuals.
Yeah.
See, basically what they're doing is like, if Netflix just was like, you know what, this Mystery Science Theater thing, we're done making money with it. Let's just get it out of here. At that point, people like my friend Eric don't get residuals for the writing that he did on the show.
Right.
Or Rebecca wouldn't get residuals for it, and Tim or anyone else that we know that wrote. So that's really what they're trying to do, is to fuck the writers and the other artists by not giving them residuals. And shit, this show's kind of the same way. These actors and writers, they would be getting residuals if this show was streaming somewhere, or if people had access to watch it.
Well, with a lot of the streaming shows, if it was intended for streaming, like, I hate to even bring it up, but Batwoman. none of them were going to get residuals regardless. They got paid more up front, so they got a little bit more of a higher fee up front, but their contracts wouldn't allow for residuals. Streaming specifically, they're looking for subscriber counts and watch time for new subscribers. It's not watch time for current subscribers. It's you just sign up, you immediately watch that one show that you want, like say Sandman. That's what Netflix is looking for. They're looking for who just signed up and who immediately went to Sandman. After, in like a month or two, they're going to be looking for whatever new show they just put out. And that's the next thing on their list. They do not do residuals for any of that. Only if it's produced by another company, say like, Warner Brothers made Longmire and then Netflix bought the license. Well, they both work together, but you still got Longmire out on DVD and Blu-ray because that was part of the contract. They still got their residuals. Although if it's a brand new thing, Stranger Things, I'm still waiting on season 3 Blu-ray. And I'll never get it, and I'll never get season 4 Blu-ray because Netflix owns the rights, and that's going to be that.
I watched season 2 maybe, and I was like, this still sucks. I still don't like it.
You could go from season 1 to season 4 and not miss a thing, and because season 4 is pretty good actually.
I mean, I try not to say it publicly too much because I usually get fucking people like going belligerent at me, like, "What do you mean it's not scary?" I have testicles. I'm sorry. Like I've seen worse. I've seen people actually get killed, like not in real life, but on TV. Like that doesn't happen on this show.
Yeah,
they disappear. The monsters look cool. They have some great actors. Wait. I'm gonna phrase that. They have David Harbour.
Yep.
And beyond that, it's like it's bubblegum bullshit, and I don't fucking care. I'm older than that. I am not their demographic.
All right.
I'm Shudder's demographic.
Hey, love Shudder.
Yeah.
All right. Now, with that said, we're gonna maybe get on over into some social media.
Social.
All right, we got our first one from the Bricked Pit on Twitter. That's an interesting name for a fun little podcast. Watched this when it aired. Talk of the Playground. People actually died in a cartoon. Of course, they later reveal they weren't really dead, as a bummer. But man, what a great show. Love they made up curse words. Still use them today. Bricked Pit, you still use them? Okay, cool.
Chongo Longo.
Which
is funny because you listen to it and they're like, "Fuck my life," but they can't say that. Like I'm hearing what they're really trying to say.
Oh yeah, it just reminds me of like Farscape because they'd made up words, or Battlestar Galactica. They made up words to replace the curse words, but they didn't beat them into the ground.
Yeah, but at least in Firefly, when they did it, they were using curse words in other languages.
Chinese.
I love swearing. I'm sorry.
Yep, so do I. And then we got David R. This and Skeleton Warriors were two shows I was engrossed with due to the animation, but understood very little of it because of how sporadic these shows aired. I don't know Skeleton Warriors, to be honest.
I do.
Those were kind of cool. I remember this theme song so clearly, or at least little parts of it.
I remember the action figures.
Warriors. Skeleton Warriors. I'm sure I'm completely wrong.
These are the tales of the Skeleton Warriors.
No, I remember those toys. They were cool. They glowed in the dark and they looked all sick and savage and shit.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Oh, I think I remember the toys. Okay, maybe I do kind of know about this, but I don't think I watched the show.
There was another set that had holograms inside them.
Oh.
Like you remove the front of their chest or their face, and there was a hologram monster. Really neat.
Huh.
Over on the Twitter, Jonah Gregory says, the sing song, The Pirates of Dark Water, for commercial breaks.
Oh my God, yeah.
He says, at the very least, that's what I remember. And as soon as he said that, it's like, all I could hear was not that, but was, after these messages, we'll be right back. Like, oh God, I hated it.
Oh, I remember that, yeah.
And it was usually like something horrible, like a dog wanting to piss on a fire hydrant.
Yeah.
And the fire hydrant sings a song while hosing the dog away from him, like pissing on the dog first. It's like, all right, sure.
Yeah.
Our friends at the Least Haunted podcast said, I remember some sort of monkey bird that was really into mangoes and some sort of black water that spread nothing style, like the never ending story.
Ooh.
Yeah, that was a good explanation or good description between that and like Nexus or Hexus from Fern Gully.
Yeah.
Also, there might have been an evil wizard. Yes, there was. That's Wish the Pintor. And it was on Saturday morning for not even a full season. You guys, I could see it feeling that way.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of. I mean, and I say that beginning because it wasn't something I paid attention to. So it was like there and then it was gone. I think I probably saw the toys more than I saw the actual episodes.
Yeah.
And let's see. Concentric Groove said on Twitter, I remember it. It was actually a good show. Wasn't it part of NBC's last season of Saturday morning cartoons? I don't know how much support you'd get, but they never got a chance to complete the story.
Yeah.
Did it syndicate on NBC? That's
it,
where
it had to have, because it was in syndication for the last 8 episodes, so it might have been in different markets on different networks.
Yeah, because towards the end of NBC's days, they gave no fucking shits on their Saturday morning cartoons. Like they just like dropped their effort immediately.
Right.
They were the first ones to become boring.
They were bad.
Yeah.
It's like it was, here's our cartoons to, it's time for NASCAR. Left-hand turns. Or Ron Popeil infomercials.
My Pillow.
My Pillow.
My Pillow.
Mark Layton says, the show was canceled way too soon. It was a solid story, and the video game was actually well made and fun.
I've heard that, actually. It was a side-scroller platforming action game, I think.
Was it?
Yeah.
Did Data East make that, or was it another publisher?
We need deleted saves on here to help us out with some of this. Special shout out for our buddies at Deleted Saves.
Manny Juarez says it was an excellent cartoon.
Damn right.
Manny, you need better taste, motherfucker. I know Manny. He's my baby brother.
Okay.
I've known him since we were kids. Now, it was pretty excellent for what it was at the time, especially, again, the miniseries. Like, looking back on it as an adult, that was probably the most sophisticated thing that was on Saturday mornings at that point.
Right.
Ghostbusters had ended. So, I mean, that was the smartest cartoon probably written in the 80s. And this kind of picked up there, but it didn't, I don't think it reached as many people as it could have.
Yeah.
Let's see here. And then Chad Peterman says, I was impressed with the backstory they crafted for this world. Normally a toy show would not have that much lore up front.
No kidding.
That is true. That's true. Like I said, it was balls out concepts thrown at the wall. Like, here's all this shit. They had like their own lingo, worlds, solar systems. The ghosts had their own fucking rules of physics to them, which was really kind of funny. Yeah, only a ghost can hurt a ghost, but a ghost can touch a person, but a person can't touch a ghost, and you have to die. It got really confusing on that one.
But no, you had to be on their ship in order for their powers to work against you. The second you left their ship, if they attacked you, they couldn't hurt you.
Oh, see, now, when they were having the fight between Ayaz and the ghost, and he went to like, the guy had his head basically in Ayaz's lap, and Ayaz pulls both fists up and like slams them down on the guy's head. All I could think of was, fuck, why didn't he punch himself in the balls going right through that dude's head?
Yeah.
Ow.
That would have been the greatest shit ever. Just rock himself in the balls as hard as he can.
Yep.
And Mike Watson said how much he enjoyed the video game. Says, I still regularly play this. He has it on an emulator.
What?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Should look into that then.
And Michael Albright said, I remember it being pretty ambitious, really beautifully done, even if the story was pretty boilerplate adventure structure. It ran on a similar structure to Avatar: The Last Airbender, but I remember it for the voice work of Tim Curry and Hector Elizondo. Yeah, like you can't not hear them and not want to listen to what they're saying. Both of them have beautiful voices, for lack of a better term.
Oh yeah.
You know, I know Tim Curry's voice is supposed to be scary, but he's like Morgan Freeman. Like he's scary or not, you could sit and listen to Tim Curry read the fucking phone book.
Right.
And consider it Halloween music. I don't know. But yeah, he was, they were both great. And let's see here. Last was Derek Reese. Says, I was just talking to a friend online about this show the other day. I loved this cartoon so much. This was one of the very few shows that my dad and I both enjoyed together. It was so expertly done and was mature and well thought out. The art and animation was absolutely gorgeous. That is true. For the first 5 episodes, it was pretty fantastic.
Yeah.
You can forgive how the quality like nose bombed right into the ground after that. If you're able to follow the story, you can kind of get past the shift in animation, but it is jarring at first. It was for me anyway.
Yeah, there's a shift, but at least the writing stayed pretty good. Yeah, the direction kind of started to change as we went along with the progression of the show, but for what they did, it was very well done and definitely head and shoulders above a lot of other things that were going on at this time with other shows.
It had a much smarter plot. Well, it had a plot. It wasn't just episodic. It was more like something you'd see on Smallville. It
just got episodic the last 8 episodes. Otherwise, it was pretty serialized, actually, for the first 13.
Every commercial ended on a cliffhanger. And you'd get that on Saturday morning cartoons, but that was also more of how they'd get you in old Superman serials or Batman.
Right.
Like, tune in next week to see what happens. And they did that well in this show, I think, but maintained the 80s laughing point for the ending scene. Like, sailing away into the sunset and laughing together. There was no Empire Strikes Back type ending to this series.
No, they just had the Empire Strikes Back at the beginning of every episode of the maelstrom's on our ass. Boy, you guys suck at getting away, don't you?
Well, it's funny because this show borrowed heavily from Star Wars, and then you can see Star Wars borrow a little bit more from this later on in the prequels, but Disney stole a lot from this too. Like that Ghost episode is 1000% the Black Pearl. Like they took it from the Cursed Gold to the Ghost Ship, the moon, everything. Like they stole that right from Pirates of Darkwater. Made it better.
I would say so.
Well, at least the first movie.
Yeah, I mean, I got my opinions of the franchise as a whole, but that first one is clearly the best one. Make sure you check us out on all of our social media platforms. We got Facebook, Twitter. We are at Suns and Shadows. We're also on Instagram at Suns and Shadows Cast. We are at sunsandshadows.com. Thank you again, everybody, and we'll see you down the road.
Chongo Longo. I can't. Son of a